Do you like pop music? Well, I'm sorry to say, but your music has been destroyed. Even worse than that, it's been killed. That is, according to Rick Beato. If you're like me, you might have recently come across this video called How Autotune Destroyed Popular Music. In the video, Rick Beato argues that popular music has been destroyed at the behest of Autotune. Kind of. His argument has a few layers to it, but overall it's pretty simple. Rick believes that the overabundance of auto-tuned vocals in popular music is causing our ears to become desensitized to robotic-sounding singing. With AI-generated music on the rise, our desensitization to lifeless vocals is making us more likely to enjoy music that was created by machines without any human emotion or creativity. In turn, when we're all listening to music created entirely by AI machines, the very art of music will lose its humanity. If you can't guess from the video title, I happen to disagree with Rick Beato's assessment. If you don't mind, I'd love to explain why. I encourage you to listen to his argument, and then listen to my argument, and then make up your own mind on this topic. In Rick's argument, there are a few important presumptions. Number 1, autotune is used universally by every pop singer, and it takes away humanity from their voices. Number 2, music today is duller and less creative than it was in the past, and we as listeners are passively accepting this. Number 3, AI-generated music is coming, and one day it'll be the only thing, or at least the main thing, that we hear on the radio. And number 4, the day AI-generated music takes over is the day pop music dies, or is destroyed. Let's break down all these presumptions one by one. Number 1, every pop singer uses autotune, and it takes the humanity out of their voice.
Autotune. Little did I know that 24 years in the future, that effect would be on virtually every pop song, every hip-hop song. I've talked about the dangers of this, of music becoming completely computerized and lacking humanity.
Rick Beato is right that more or less every pop singer uses autotune. The pop music market today demands perfection. This means that rhythm and intonation must be flawless, including vocal intonation. Most artists achieve perfectly in tune vocals, of course, by using autotune. Not all of them, but most. Some of the examples he talked about were the Maroon 5, BTS, Justin Bieber, and Billie Eilish. So far, nothing here is too controversial. The more contentious part is when he repeatedly derides all of these vocalists for being so overproduced they lack humanity in their voice. He even suggests that a machine could sing just as good as them, if not better.
I can completely imagine a computer creating this thing. This is one of the things that the heavy use of autotune has done.
Now, while I get what he's saying, I very much disagree with him. Here's the Justin Bieber example he gave of a character-free, overly autotuned voice.
I get drunk, wake up, I'm wasted still. I realize the time that I wasted here.
The singer here is actually the Kid Laroi, who he mistakes for Justin Bieber. That's okay though, it's not really a big deal here. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Kid Laroi, but come on. Are you really gonna tell me that this voice lacks character and humanity? Even though his voice is heavily auto-tuned, to me his voice still sounds very expressive with a rather strong sense of character. Human voices can be auto-tuned, but still very much contain expression. Let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna sing the same line a few times, each time using a different human expression. Then, I'm gonna auto-tune the crap out of them. Even though they're all heavily auto-tuned, listen to how different they sound from each other in a distinctly human way. I get drunk, I wake up, I'm wasted still. I get drunk, I wake up, I'm wasted still. I get drunk, I wake up, I'm wasted still. In some ways, I think autotune can actually help add expression to a singer's voice. Here's what I mean. Since the near universal adoption of autotune in the early 2000s, singers have had to worry less and less about intonation in the studio. This frees them up to put more of their focus and effort into adding personal expression. As a producer, when I work with singers, I usually tell them don't worry too much about being perfectly in tune, just try to be as expressive as possible.
She give me money
when I'm in need.
Autotune, of course, is not the only production technique that Rick Beato derides. Another common technique producers use is vocal splicing. Rick Beato criticizes Billie Eilish for using 87 different vocal takes in one song. He suggests that splicing together so many takes takes away some of the humanity from her voice, just like Autotune does.
I remember seeing this thing with Phineas and Billie Eilish. Phineas showed a vocal track of Billie Eilish, who's an excellent singer, and there were 80 takes that were put into this. Now, I'm not sure why Phineas showed that, because to me, the idea is that you showcase a person's singing ability, not that it took 80 different edits to make up a vocal take.
What he neglects to mention is the reason Billie Eilish used so many takes, which is that she does not use Autotune.
One of the stupid rules we've given ourselves is we don't use any pitch correction unless it's like a song with Autotune as an art form. There's no
Which we've done, by the way, one of.
Billie Eilish achieves perfect intonation by singing hundreds of takes for each song and splicing the in-tune portions together. That's right, one of the artists Rick Beato derides for having an overly produced voice uses zero Autotune. Lastly, the very word autotune is a bit misleading since there's very little that's auto about it. There are tons of adjustments like retune speed, vibrato, humanization, and much more. You could probably get 100 different sounds just using the Autotune plugin alone. Every little decision made by a music producer is an artistic human input. For all these reasons, I disagree with Rick's assertion that Autotune takes away humanity from a singer's voice. Number 2. Music is less human than it was in the past, and we as listeners are subconsciously becoming more tolerant of this.
People don't notice when something has been digitally altered. And one of the culprits of this is something that happened in 1998.
Looking through Rick Beato's YouTube channel, there's a pretty clear theme. Music was just better in the past. Older music had more imperfections, which made it more expressive and fun to listen to. Music today is too robotic. It's too formulated. Gen Z doesn't care about music. Of course, not all of his content is like this, but there's no denying that a lot of it is. I've already discussed why I think auto-tuned vocals don't take any humanity out of the music. Another technique Rick Beato doesn't seem to be a big fan of is quantized drums.
So the song has obviously been quantized. Can a quantized song really be funky?
Quantizing is the production technique of locking drums perfectly to a grid. This is an inherently robotic thing to do, since no human drummer could possibly have such perfect rhythm. Just like Autotune, I personally don't think quantized drums takes away any character from a song, but rather adds a different type of character. Take a listen to the drums from Numb by Linkin Park. The drums are locked to the grid, certainly in a robotic way. The humanity of it, in my opinion, comes from the sound design. These drums were actually programmed by Rob Bourdon, Linkin Park's own drummer. Using programmed drums allowed him to mix sounds and drumming techniques that no human could realistically produce on a live drum kit. I absolutely love live drums, but if you don't think that these drums sound awesome, you're only kidding yourself. For hundreds of years, older musicians have been criticizing new music for lacking humanity. In the 1960s, critics bemoaned the Beatles' use of the Moog synthesizer on Abbey Road, stating that it made the album sound too artificial and robotic. In the 1920s, critics loathed Duke Ellington and his swing music, saying that it lacked the real human expression of classical music. So to summarize, I disagree with Rick Beato's fundamental assessment that today's pop music is worse or less human than it was in the past. It's still very human, just in a different way than before. We're not growing more tolerant of less human-sounding music, because I think that music isn't any less human-sounding. Number 3. AI-generated music is coming soon, and one day it will be the main music we hear on the radio.
I've harped on this for years on this channel. People are sick of me harping on it, but AI will be able to do this.
To be honest, this presumption of Rick Beato's is a little harder for me to comment on. I am not any kind of expert in technology, let alone the field of artificial intelligence. I'm not familiar with any specific AI programs, nor have I ever tried using one myself. It's certainly possible that one day AI will be able to create palatable music with no human input. It's possible perhaps that that day might be sooner than we expect. I am a little skeptical, however, that it'll ever completely overtake humans. Artificial intelligence is one of the most utterly complex endeavors humans have ever explored, but it seems that so far we haven't quite made it all the way. Technology like deepfake videos and self-driving cars have certainly made strides, but still aren't that widely accessible. They're out there, but they're definitely still a rare occurrence for most people to see in their day-to-day lives. And they certainly haven't completely replaced human-made videos and human drivers. The very AI lyrics writing machine Rick Beato demonstrates in his video is, by his own admission, really bad.
To figure out my life and what I really want, I love you more than words, but I can't go on. That's pretty terrible, right? Pre-chorus.
Plus, the machine got its source material from Ed Sheeran, who is a human, as far as I can tell. Even this AI machine would not be functional without the input of a human person. It's hard to imagine radio DJs simply playing a song straight from an AI machine onto the airwaves without at least some contributions from a real human. This leads directly into Rick Beato's last presumption. Number 4. The day AI-generated music takes over is the day pop music is destroyed. This presumption is a little more subtle than the last 3. Rick Beato never puts forth any concrete arguments about how and why AI-generated music is a negative thing. The closest he ever comes is a throwaway line at the very end of the video where he quickly mentions one of its potential downsides.
I don't think that they're going to care when musicians and songwriters are replaced by AI. Really, the only question is, who gets paid for it?
Aside from this, Rick Beato never makes any direct statements about AI being bad for music. The main reason I presume this is his opinion is the title of the video. The video we're talking about is called How Autotune Destroyed Popular Music. This other video he made a year ago is called Modern Music's Death by Autotune. Obviously, death and destruction are pretty negative descriptors, so it's clear what Rick Beato really thinks about Autotune. I've got an interesting question though. Who's to say that widespread AI-generated music is necessarily a bad thing? Maybe it'll free up working musicians to make music they actually enjoy instead of what they think will please the masses. Personally, I don't currently have a strong opinion on this topic. I think both sides of the argument have valid points. The thing is though, the video How Autotune Destroyed Popular Music isn't even really about Autotune. It's about the impending takeover of AI music and how Autotune is simply the main catalyst for this. We're left to implicitly assume that AI-generated music is a bad thing. In my opinion, it seems that Rick Beato indirectly puts forth this claim without really backing it up or providing much evidence. If you interpret a different message from him, by the way, please let me know. That's totally okay. Rick's question at the end about who gets paid for AI-generated music is a good and valid question, by the way. I'm not sure anybody has a good answer at this time, though I think this concern of his ties more broadly into the economics of music production and capitalism in general. I want to look one more time at the title of Rick Beato's video. It's called How Autotune Destroyed Popular Music. Destroyed, as in past tense. If you think about it for a minute, even if you fully agree with his arguments, this title doesn't really make much sense. Obviously, Rick is exaggerating here. I actually don't have a problem at all with his hyperbolic language. I understand that the YouTube algorithm is a game, and the man's gotta pay his bills. That said, the title of the video still doesn't make sense for a few reasons. Think about the state of pop music today. Is it really destroyed? Is it really dead? If you ask me, pop music is more alive and thriving than ever before. Studies show that we listen to way more pop music today than we ever did in the past. There are a ton of reasons for this, of course. The invention of more accessible music listening technology, the advent of music streaming services, and the injection of music into social media are just a few. While music sales are significantly down, the music industry and record labels are definitely still doing okay. So I think it's safe to say that pop music isn't in any state of disarray, let alone destroyed. In fact, Rick Beato doesn't even make this claim in his video. His argument is that artificial intelligence will destroy pop music in the future, and Autotune is the main catalyst. A better title for this video would have been How Autotune Will Destroy Pop Music. That title would make more sense, even though I would still disagree. If you agree with Rick Beato, let me know why. I'm always interested in hearing your thoughts. Thanks a lot for watching. I do apologize if I came across overly negative in this video. I want to thank Rick Beato for his content, as I certainly am a fan. See you next time!